What you're about to witness right now is the craziest Generation 3 OU battle I've literally ever had by a long shot. And this isn't just some random battle on the ladder. This is actually a tournament battle. This is ADV Rev 3. This is my round 4 opponent. So going into this match, me and my opponent right here, we are both 3-0. We're both undefeated, right? We're both really cool, and we know what we're doing. And this battle, oh my, it was so crazy. It was so difficult to think about it. It demanded so much brain power. There was so much luck. There was a lot of dumb plays, particularly for me, that I made. I mean, I can pretty much guarantee this first battle we're about to see is the best Pokemon battle you're going to see on YouTube today. All right, probably not by tomorrow, but today I can pretty much guarantee it's a long Pokemon battle. Okay, let's just get right into it. I just had to really point that out, because this was an extremely stressful battle for me. While I was doing this, I was not having fun. But I bet you guys are going to have fun, because, you know, you weren't out there suffering like David was. You're just going to spectate like me. So the team that I'm going to be using is a TSS team. It's just consisted of the big five, and I have a Starmie for rapid spin support and thunder waving and stuff like that. So if you don't know what the big five is, it's Tyranitar, Skarmory, Blissey, Swampert, Gengar, and then I told you Starmie. So that's literally my whole entire team. So enough of that. Let's get into this battle. It's going to be a long, painful battle, guys. So you're going to have to bear with me. I'm not probably going to remember every single little thing that was going through my mind, but just trust me. So they start off with a Salamence, right? I'm like, okay, if you start off with a lead Salamence, it must be mixed. So I bring in Blissey expecting Fire Miss, and of course it is. So it connects. It did not miss. Watch this, guys. I go for an Ice Beam on the Salamence, but they send in their own Blissey. I'm like, uh-oh, Blissey and Blissey. So I go for a Toxic, right? And I miss. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. So they go for a Thunderbolt for whatever reason. That tickled me a little bit. I was like, okay, I'm going to go for another Toxic right now. And I miss. They go for Thunderbolt. Check this out. I got paralyzed. I was like, yeah, I'm seeing the writing on the wall. I know what kind of battle this is going to be. This is going to be a very, very painful one for David. And I literally got paralyzed on the Skarmory switch. So we're off to a wonderful start, if you couldn't tell. So they just switch into Suicune. I don't even know exactly why. Probably to set up on my Blissey. But I bring in my own Skarmory, actually. And they did go for a Calm Mind. I'm like, okay, I see a Blissey. I see Suicune. I don't think I'm going to have fun this battle. So I better get up some spikes now. They went right for the attack. And I roar out that Suicune, because that thing is the destroyer of worlds, into literally the guy that can rapid spin things off the field. But I was like, okay, you can rapid spin. I'm going to go for Toxic, though. They sent in a Jirachi. This Jirachi was the... I hate this thing. This was their MVP by far. By a long shot. So I thought they would go for Thunderbolt on my Skarmory, but they actually ended up going for Fire Punch, and it hits my Swampert. Luckily, I didn't get burned. Guess what? The thing has Toxic. I was like, oh, no. And then I went for Earthquake here, and I didn't really think about it, because I don't fight Jirachi too often, but I actually ran a calc on that before I did this recording that you're seeing right now in front of you. That Jirachi had to have been max HP, max defense, because my Swampert has no attack investment, and that did 50. That should have done way more. So it's very tanky. So I bring in my Starmie, because I'm looking at my team. I don't have Will-O-Wisp, and I can't poison this thing. And I know it's a support one, because as you just saw, it went for Wish Protect. I'm like, I have to paralyze this thing. It's the only way I can win this battle. If that Jirachi doesn't get paralyzed, I will lose for sure. So I end up paralyzing Blissey, which who cares, because it has natural cure. Got fully paralyzed, so I guess that bought me a turn. Thank you so much, Arceus. So I do something kind of dumb. I went for Focus Punch here, and then they just switch out, obviously, and they bring in Claydol. I guess it wasn't that bad. Now, luckily, my Tyranitar actually does have Hidden Power Bug, right? So just keep that in mind for later. There was a very important turn that happens later that got me... It drove me up a wall. It was not fun. So I'm like, okay, I don't feel like getting hit with Earthquake. I'm not exactly sure what this thing wants to do. Maybe it'll go for Rapid Spin. So I bring in Skarmory, and I dodge the Earthquake anyway. I didn't care if they tried to go for Rapid Spin. I would just set up the spikes again. So I roar out the whatever they send in, because I'm like, that Claydol's going to switch out. And a Suicune comes in, which is not what I wanted to see, I got to be honest. And Suicune just wants to eliminate my Skarmory as fast as possible. They just want to do that so they can rapid spin the spikes off the field. So I go for Toxic, which was a good idea. I was kind of debating if it was good or bad, but you guys are going to see. So I go for a cringe protect here, then they predicted it. Yep, they predicted it. They went for Calm Mind. So now I'm just cooked. I will die to the Surf. I'm like, okay, well, how about I just not die to the Surf and I bring in my Blissey? Of course, not going to do any damage. And they go for Surf, didn't do any damage. So I didn't know if they wanted to do it again or just start resting. Man, this Suicune, everything they had was a huge threat to me, but it was the two biggest threats were the Suicune and that Jirachi. So they go for rest. I just soft blowed up because I didn't know if they wanted to rest now or just go for Surf. So I did the safest thing because my only two attacking moves on Blissey are Fire Blast and Ice Beam. It doesn't do any damage to Suicune. So I'm like, okay, I got to do something. So I send in Skarmory, and oh man, here comes the luck right here. So they go for a Sleep Talk, and they don't get Surf. Thank God. That would have for sure unalived me. I'm like, okay, I have to roar this thing out, which is good for me if I do, because when you get roared out after you Sleep Talk, the turns reset, your sleep turn. So they go for Sleep Talk again, and they got rest. Crisis averted. So I get that thing off the field for now, but you guys are going to see that thing's going to come back to haunt me later. And it goes into Jirachi, who can just... Now we know it can Fire Punch me, which is not fun. So I send in my Starmie to eat the incoming Fire Punch. I didn't get burned, which is good. You know, the thing does have Serene Grace, so it's got a 20% chance to burn. Not a huge deal because I got Natural Cure, but, you know, that saves me some health. And once again, like I've tried to tell you guys, my whole mission in life is to paralyze this Jirachi. I looked at my team. There's no way I could kill this thing. There's not enough people doing damage. Now I know it has Toxic too, and it's not going to be fun. So I go for Thunder Wave, and they send in the Sleeping Suicune, which makes sense. I can't do any damage. They don't know this yet, but as you can see, looking at my Starmie right here, they just know I have Thunder Wave. So I didn't reveal that I don't have Thunderbolt, but they don't know that. So I send in my Gengar, who actually does have Thunderbolt. And I go for Thunderbolt, of course, because I need the Suicune to get off my screen. It does some good damage. That was very good. And it just, I noticed that they went for, they didn't go for Sleep Talk because they want to guarantee that the Suicune wakes up. So I go for Thunderbolt, you know, trying to unalive the Suicune, obviously. They send in Blissey, and this was a very important play, and I do think I made the right decision. Gengar was very, very important to me to get rid of Skarmory and Suicune, but it's Blissey. You guys know I hate Blissey more than anybody else on the planet. So I went for the Explosion, guaranteed KO, goodbye. But I knew that I wasn't out of the woods yet because of all these other, like, tanky defensive mons I'm going to have to get through. So I sent in Skarmory. I think they predict that because I see Jirachi here. And they went for Wish. I was like, oh, I wonder who they're going to pass the Wish to. Certainly it's not going to be the 46% HP Suicune who's asleep and needs to wake up so it could sweep my whole entire team. So I sent in Skarmory. And I'm like, man, one of these pillars has to fall. And preferably Suicune. So they wake up, obviously. You probably haven't even been keeping track, but they knew they were going to wake up, obviously. They go for Surf. I get up another layer of spikes. So I didn't really know if that was the right thing to do, but I just wanted to keep pressure because I didn't know how much more switching was going to happen. So I sent in Blissey to eat the Surf because they really wanted my Skarmory to die, and I kind of knew that, so I ran away. And I'm like, okay, I need to poison this thing because this is their strongest damage dealer, obviously. So don't worry, guys. The Toxic didn't miss twice in a row like it did in the beginning. So thankfully that connects. So eventually that is going to force a rest from that Suicune, which is important. That's what keeps this thing passive and in check. But bad things happen. So I go for Ice Beam. It does no damage. That's not the bad thing, though. Remember, I can't do any damage to Suicune with my Blissey. I just have Fire Blast and Ice Beam. So I go into my Skarmory to do that thing that I did before the first time, and they just go for Sleep Talk. And bad news, guys, they got Surf. I wasn't like upset about that because I'm like, okay, eventually they're gonna get Surf. This is, if you haven't noticed, this is a defensive, what the kids would call a Crocoon, Calm Mind, Surf, Rest, Sleep Talk. So it gets rid of my Skarmory, unfortunately, and it's going on a rampage. I'm surprised they didn't go for Sleep Talk there. I guess they probably thought that my Swampert had Roar, so they wanted to play it safe. But I don't have Roar, so now they know that. But they just go for Surf anyway. And hits my Swampert, and as you can see, I'm not doing much damage to Suicune because it's most likely a bold one, so this kind of sucks. And I thought they would go for Surf here, and I didn't really care too much because they would outspeed me, but they choose to go for Rest. And I got a crit right there, which was huge. That's more of the luck that I was talking about. There's a lot of luck that happened in this battle, and I just died to the Toxic. That crit literally kept me in the game, as you guys are going to see later. So I don't have any answers left. My Starmie doesn't have Thunderbolt. Blissey can't do any damage. So I literally have to go into Tyranitar. I go for Focus Punch, which was pretty dumb looking back on it. Because I'm looking at their team, and Focus Punch, you know, do more like Jirachi as opposed to Rock Slide. But Rock Slide was the best, safest move. And they sent in Salamence to eat that, so it didn't do any damage. Rock Slide would have chonked it. That would have been pretty nice. So I sent in Starmie. It is a mixed Ments, as we kind of confirmed earlier. It goes for Brick Break on my Starmie. No big deal. So then I go for Surf, because I actually did expect that Claydol to come in, because I thought that they would expect me to go for Thunderwave, as I tried to do earlier. Oh, speaking of Thunderwave, look who comes in, because I was like, okay, I see a KO on that Claydol. I'm going to take it. I don't care who you switch to. But I'm like, okay, this is my chance. They're going to go for Wish, because there's a bunch of injured team members. Okay, my bad. I forgot. They went for the Cringe Protect to get some 6 HP back. Maybe I should have predicted that and go for Recover. My bad. But I think this is my chance. So I finally paralyzed that Jirachi. I'm like, finally, we can do something. By the way, I only have 3 Pokemon left, if you haven't noticed. And Blissey can't do any damage to Suicune. And we can't really collectively do any damage to Jirachi, if you haven't noticed. So I send in my Tyranitar. They send in Suicune, right? Because they went for Wish. I'm like, oh, I wonder who they're going to go to. So I sent in Tyranitar because, like I said, it's the only person that could do any damage to Suicune. But they understand that. They don't want to risk losing it. Because that is... if they keep Suicune alive and it just wakes up and is healthy, I will just lose on the spot. So they sent in Skarmory to eat up this Rock Slide. They set up a layer of spikes. I was like, oh boy, more problems, right? Then I decided to go for a Fire Blast. I'm pretty sure, right? And I was aware of this Suicune. And another thing too is this thing has pressure, so I'm running out of Fire Blast quickly, which I'm going to need later. It says I have 7 out of 8 here, but obviously I have 6 because it has pressure. So I switch out because it's like, you know, it's Suicune. You got to do something about this thing. So they go for the guaranteed sleep, you know, turn burn. I never know how to say that. They burned 1 turn of sleep. They didn't go for sleep talk because they understand they're trying to get this Suicune healthily. So they go into Skarmory, and I send in my Starmie, and I was like, I think I went for a Thunder Wave here. Yeah, I wanted this thing to be kind of immobilized and have an inconvenient life. So they just go for Roar, and it goes into Blissey, which is good. That's the one that I would want over Tyranitar. If I went into Tyranitar, I would have just tried to Rock Slide Paraflinch that thing to death straight up. So I go for Fire Blast, and it does 54, which is good. Then they go for Drill Peck. I didn't really care. And I just go for the very, very safe Soft Boiled. I think they got paralyzed this turn. This is a long battle, if you couldn't tell. No, okay, they hit me with Drill Peck. So at this point in time, I'm like, okay, I want you to die now. I'm tired of this Skarmory. It can set up spikes. It's going to be annoying. So I go for Fire Blast, and they protect. Wonderful. And at this point in time, I was kind of desperate, honestly. I mean, my back is against the wall, if you couldn't tell. So I just went for a Fire Blast again, full well knowing they could send in Suicune or whoever. But I didn't think they would because of those spikes and stuff. So I got a higher roll there on that Skarmory too, which saved me. Maybe that first one was a low roll. I don't know, but it does barely take out that Skarmory, barely. So they send in Claydol, and I thought they would go for Earthquake or Boom, but they go for Rapid Spin. The moment I saw them go for Rapid Spin, I was like, I know exactly what you're going to do right now. So they send in, who do you think? They send in Suicune, and I'm like, this is it. I have to go for Surf because I can't just send in my Tyranitar because this thing, I did the math already, guys. I couldn't send in my Tyranitar that turn because it had that turn. It burned a turn of sleep already, and it would have lived my attacks anyway because it's defensive. Then it would have woken up and went for rest and then sleep talk. We would have lost. So I had to stay in and go for Surf, and I got a crit right there. That saved me the whole game. He was for sure gonna go for rest that turn and then sleep talk and then just win the whole entire game. So yet another miraculous save. Starmie getting that crit for sure kept me here. We're not out of the woods yet because, oh my god, this Jirachi. Oh my god, you guys are gonna see so much pain and agony. I thought that Suicune was the biggest problem. No. It's for sure this Jirachi. There's gonna be a lot of like just this happening right here where they just go for Wish, Protect. They're gonna pass it to Salamence eventually. But the main thing is they're just okay, so in case you probably haven't been keeping track, this thing has Fire Punch, Toxic, Wish, Protect, right? If you look at my team, my only real damage on this thing, and it's decent damage, but they've got Wish, is I have Surf on Starmie. That's my only real move. My Starmie's got Thunderwave, Surf, Recover, and Rapid Spin, right? And then I have Earthquake on my Tyranitar. Oh, man, I made a big mistake here. I went for Hidden Power Bug because they went for Wish. I thought they were going to give it to Claydol. No, they stayed in. I should have just went for Earthquake. It wasn't that big of a deal because as I find out later on, which I told you earlier this battle, but I didn't know at the time because I was stupid. My brain didn't work. This Jirachi is very defensive. Look at that damage. It would have lived that last Earthquake anyway. So, oh, but they poisoned me. That's huge. So, now, once again, the writing is on the wall. Because well, let me just tell you right now. My Blissey has 4 Fire Blasts left. This thing has Protect and stuff. So that's that along with my Earthquakes. Oh, I went for Rapid Spin there, which was super important because all my Pokemon are grounded and I eliminated their Skarmory. So I just did that just to do that. That was important. But now you're going to see that I kind of keep bouncing back and forth between my Starmie, Blissey, and Tyranitar, who this Jirachi keeps poisoning. But thankfully, Starmie and Blissey have Natural Cure, which is one of the best abilities. So my game plan here, I didn't really have a game plan, honestly. I kind of knew I needed to get lucky to win this battle, but I'm not going anywhere. They went for Claydol right there. That was very, very risky. I could have just clicked Surfed and unalive that thing, but they knew I was too scared. I couldn't do it. I couldn't click that button. So I just go for Recover. They bring that thing in, and then they send in Jirachi. I have to switch because the poison... Oh, I didn't do it this turn. I must do it next turn. The poison's racking up. So... Thankfully, I have enough Pokemon to keep switching because I can't 1v1 this thing, obviously, because of the poison. But I can kind of collectively beat it up with all the Natural Cure together. So as you can see, as I mentioned earlier, this Jirachi, man, the whole entire battle, it just kept going for Wish Protect. And I needed this thing to get, like, paralyzed. But it's, yeah, I just needed it to get unlucky enough. So I get poisoned here. And I'm like, okay, it's time to go for Soft Boil, and then we got to switch, and then, I forgot about that. I missed Fire Blast. Lovely, right? So, obviously, it's not an accurate move, but just, I was already in a bad situation. I was like, oh, God, we're so screwed. Like, what are we going to do? So, I go for Soft Boil again to get back at full health. They knew that, so they just went for Fire Punch for some damage. They got their stupid Wish. Oh, my God. At this point in time... So, by the way, I have to switch because the poison's racking up. I kind of was like, dude, I think the only way I'm going to win is if I stall out those Wishes. So, it has 8 left. It got paralyzed that turn. I swear, this thing kept getting paralyzed on the most unimportant and irrelevant turns. So, I go for Recover. And then they okay, my bad. They got paralyzed that turn. They tried to poison me there. They obviously got paralyzed. So, once again, I don't really have a game plan. I'm just like, oh, maybe I'll get a crit. Maybe they'll get paralyzed. They do get paralyzed. But this is kind of an uphill battle, obviously, because that Jirachi is so tanky. My Starmie is not very, like, offensive. And the Jirachi is physically defensive. So, my best answer is actually Tyranitar. So, if my Tyranitar faints, we will lose this battle because... I'm running low on Fire Blast over there. By the way, I tried to hit that thing with an Earthquake, and they just intimidate me with Salamence. I was like, oh, my God. And we already know this thing has Brick Break, so I'm like, oh, I should probably switch. So I bring in, Starmie to eat up the Brick Break. They send back in this Demon, and it's basically what they're trying to do right now is their game plan is they need to... They have to have my Tyranitar... Because the only real progress that's being made, if you couldn't tell... is there are power points being burned, and my Tyranitar has no way of recovering at all. So, because I'm poisoned, and I'm trying to get that thing in, because my Blissey only has 2 Fire Blasts left. Speaking of Blissey, I bring that thing in now. They went for Wish. That would have been actually an opportunity to kill that thing, but it already got the Wish off, so that's not good. That would have been a wonderful turn for that thing to get paralyzed. So this happens, then I go for Fire Blast, and then it obviously just protects itself. Now I literally have 1 Fire Blast left, and my only other attacking move is Ice Beam, as I mentioned earlier, which is good for Salamence and Claydol, but not for Jirachi. So I just go for Ice Beam because I don't even know why. Maybe I should just went for Fire Blast that turn. I'm starting to lose my mind at this point in the battle. Like I'm like, I can't win, but I just have to keep pressing buttons. So I bring in Tyranitar. Expecting Fire Punch. Luckily, I resist that. But as I mentioned, the main problem is the poison. The first turn where I come in, it doesn't matter because the leftovers is blocking out the poison damage. So I go for Focus Punch here. I don't know why. I should have just clicked Earthquake, but it doesn't matter because they got the wish off anyway. And after the Earthquake, Focus Punch, it doesn't make a difference. They're going to get back to full health. So I'm like, okay, the poison's racking up. So I go back to Blissey again. They get paralyzed. Oh, wonderful. I'm like, okay, I'm going to launch a Fire Blast now. Let's see how much damage it does. Oh, God. Oh, I lied. My bad. Sorry. I knew I would make some oopsie poopsies along this battle. It's so long and painful. So I switch out to Starmie. I'm probably trying to... I think I was trying to lower this thing's health with Starmie and then maybe hit it with a Fire Blast. Well, that's what I thought, but I just switched into Blissey there. So, oh, wait. Maybe I was trying to... Oh, now I remember. I was trying to start these things Toxics because it's got 10 left. I mean, if I can get through that, well, then Blissey and Starmie, they can't really beat this thing, but it can't really hurt me either. So that was kind of my new game plan. But I am making progress. This Jirachi has 6 wishes left, but the bad news is my Tyranitar is going to faint before this thing can get its 6 wishes off. So I need to get some offensive pressure on it now, but I go for Earthquake. It does some good damage here. They get paralyzed. I was like, whoa, dude. I'm going to go for Earthquake again right now, but what do you think they did, guys? Take a wild guess. They sent in the Flying type to intimidate me, and I go for the very, very... It's not even obvious at this point. It's like so desperate. Like, I just need to get rid of that Jirachi, and then we can theoretically win at that point. So I run away, and the Salamence has Hidden Power Grass, which isn't surprising because... one of my Salamence is just like this thing, which it was a good thing because I would have defeated Tyranitar after the poison, and it could catch Starmie on the switch, which it did. So now my Starmie is on life support. It'll die the next Hidden Power Grass. I'm like, oh my god. So now what I have to do is threaten that thing with an Ice Beam, and I just went for it. I did not care because it had Brick Break, so I was thinking maybe they're getting a bit desperate too, and they just want to unalive me. But they make the safe play and go back to Jirachi. So I have to find a way to heal up my Starmie before that Salamence shows up again, because it'll unalive me with Hidden Power Grass. So now's the time, because I knew they'd go for Wish, because that's what they've been doing the past 50 turns. So I go for Recover here. Now I'm back at full health. I'm like, okay, the Salamence might go for Hidden Power Grass. It might not. They get the Wish. And I thought this was too predictable, but I thought they would go back to Jirachi. But just in case they didn't, I did go for Thunder Wave, and I finally paralyzed Salamence. That's huge because the Salamence has no way of curing the paralysis. And we're at a point in time where we kind of, well, for me, I need more luck than they need to win this battle. We both kind of need it. So what's happening now is I have paralyzed the Salamence. This wasn't really crazy, but this was the most absurd, ridiculous moment in the whole battle. So I paralyze that Salamence, and I just sit here, and I just go for Recover, because I'm trying to get back to full health, so I can send in my Starmie later on at full health, right? After it gets paralyzed. So I'm waiting for this thing to get paralyzed. But, hang on, let me help you guys out. So I'm going to go up here. What was the first turn? Okay, 104. Okay. So I paralyzed Salamence turn 104. Keep that in mind. So it's already turn 109 and no Parahacks, right? So I just sit here and keep going for Recover. And this thing did not get paralyzed for a while. As a matter of fact, to save everyone some trouble, let's speed it up and move to normal. Actually, let's go to fast real quick. And because I don't even remember when it did get paralyzed. But remember, I paralyzed them turn 104. They're going for more Hidden Power Grasses. By the way, if you haven't been noticing, with enough low and max rolls plus the Sandstorm, they're actually slowly eating away at my health bar. Because like that one did 49, but they're getting higher rolls in there somewhere. Like they get a plus 50 every now and then. Like that one, that was 52. So I'm like, okay. You know what I mean? Like, and obviously if they get a crit, I'll just die, and then we just lose the whole entire battle. So I just keep going for Recover. I don't even know what turn it is, but one of these turns, something happens. I'm not going to say what, because I don't want to spoil it. So, remember, if I get crit, well, that one did 53, so we're cutting it close, man. Oh, God. So now it's been 15 turns. The dude has not got paralyzed at all, in case you haven't been counting. I'm counting. There it is. There it is. Okay, pause. Okay. So, finally, they get paralyzed, and I was like, oh, Well, I'm at 60% HP, so that was just the biggest waste of my time. I could have just switched out from the very beginning. Like, oh my God, I couldn't believe that. That was so ridiculous. Like, they just didn't get paralyzed. That's all I wanted. And I was like, I don't think I want to try that again, because if they get a crit, well, then it's all over. So now I switch. And I go into my Blissey, because obviously they're determined to go for hidden power grass. Oh, they got paralyzed twice in a row. Ain't that funny? They dodged 15 turns of paralysis. Wait, was it 15? I already forgot. Hang on. This was so crazy to me. Yeah, 15 turns of paralysis. Then they get paralyzed twice in a row. And I went for... oh, wait. I did something right. I knew that Jirachi would come in because of the Ice Beam that would have unalived Salmons. And they need that thing. So I switch in Tyranitar, go for an Earthquake. And I got the crit. I literally needed that. That's literally what I was trying to do. I could not win any other way. Let me just pause that. Dude, I was popping off when I got that crit, man. Even watching that replay. Like, I needed to crit that Suicune from a long time ago with my Surf from Starmie to win. And that Earthquake right there had to do the trick, because that thing was in the range for it to die to a crit Earthquake, because if it's at full, it won't die to a crit. And my Tyranitar is very, very low on HP right now, if you haven't noticed. Oh my God. So I was literally like this close to falling off the cliff, and I got the crit. And I literally went for Earthquake trying to get the crit. Or, I mean, they could have got paralyzed too, but I needed something. I was going for a crit though. So that thing's dead. So they bring in this Claydol right here, and the way I see it is my Tyranitar's fulfilled its job. I could have maybe saved it for Salamence, but I was thinking, well, I mean, Tyranitar can go up to 243 and Claydol can go up to 273. This probably wasn't my best play, but I tried to hit it with Hidden Power Bug. Maybe I could have been faster. I don't know. Maybe they had a minus speed nature, but they do just outspeed me and go for Earthquake. I didn't really care too much, though, because I think I can win at this point, because I sent in my Starmie, and I don't know why exactly, but they let their Claydol die. They could have sent in Salamence and then did the whole Hidden Power Grass thing and try to get a crit, but now it's literally their final Pokemon. And if you guys, have been paying attention, which I hope you have, I get it's a really long battle, but I've won the battle already. And the reason why is because, dude, they could crit me right now with the Hidden Power Grass. Oh, they got paralyzed. Ain't that funny? They could crit me right now. It doesn't matter. I already hit this thing with a guaranteed Surf for 24 damage. And my Blissey has Ice Beam, and I'll just outspeed it. This Salamence has no recovery. So they go for a Hidden Power Grass right there. And, I could have been cringe, but I chose to go... I did this with honor. I could have done recovers a million times because the battle was already long enough. But I said, nope, I'm going to put it down with Blissey. I actually got a crit right there, and it barely survives the sand on 2 HP and then heals back to 8. And then I finished it off with an Ice Beam. Oh my God, just narrating that battle took so much out of me. It was so much. So much. And then at the very end, they hit me with a GG. Oh my God. So like I said, that was the craziest Generation 3 OU battle I ever had, for certain. And I barely won that thing. And I'll be honest, I don't think I really deserved that win because of that. I needed to crit that Suicune that one turn because my Starmie doesn't have Thunderbolt. And I would say an even crazier turn was that Jirachi, because I was starting to lose my mind at that point in the battle. I'm like, I have no answer to this thing. My Starmie was running low on Surfs, if you didn't know. Let's go check right now. Yeah, so my Blissey had 1 Fire Blast left. Wait, no, I think it had 0 because the Suicune pressure, remember that from a long time ago? So I think I had 0, so I had no way of hurting Jirachi. And then Starmie had 7 Surfs. I think it had even less because I remember, like I just said, I hit that Suicune with a couple, so I probably had almost 0. It was so close. There was so much luck. It was so crazy. It was so stressful. Oh my goodness gracious. If that wasn't the craziest battle you saw on YouTube today, for Pokemon at least, and I don't know what will. It was so much. Like, okay, I'm gonna stop talking about it, because that was just game 1, right? Spoiler alerts, game 1 was the craziest game of all. But I did win, so now I'm 1-0 in the set, so let's go into game 2. So this is game 2, and in this game I'm going to be using Metacham. and a Magneton on a more offensive team because I didn't feel like sitting around here for 200 turns again. So they're going to lead off with Tyranitar, and I bleed off with my Medicham. So usually if they have Tyranitar, they run for their lives. And I didn't want to take any chances. I've seen some crazy people out there in this world. So I went for Brick Break anyway, and they do just bring in a Celebi to take 0 damage from that. I'm like, okay, what does this thing want to do? So it's kind of a more offensive one. I went for Psychic, did a good chunk, and I hit it with a Shadow Ball. They're on life support right now, but they're going to outspeed me. So I'm like, okay, this is a more offensive one. They're going to kill me with Psychic. So I'm just going to send in my Metagross here to take no damage from it. The dude goes for Hidden Power Fire and then gets a critical hit. Very, very evil, if you ask me. So that was pretty, that was good for them. So I'm going to bring in my Salamence. I'm like, okay, maybe I can preserve my Metagross. So they go for another HP Fire. I knew they wouldn't go for Psychic because that would not have taken out Metagross with it, you know, the quad resistance. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to get my revenge. So I go for a Dragon Dance here. This is not a mixed Mence. This is a Dragon Dancing, offensive, physically offensive sweeper Salamence. That Psychic did 38, so I just did the math. I'm like, okay, I can live another Psychic if they want to do that, which they actually do. And they got a high roll here with 45, and I was like, oh, no, I'm dead to the sand. Nope, I lived on literally 1 HP. So that's pretty cool. So it's time for me to start destroying everything in my path. So I'm going to take that dude out with a Hidden Power Flying. And notice how they, right there on the right side of the chat, that dude took like literally minutes to make their play. Like they were afraid of my Salamence. They decided to send the Swampert to miss a Hydro Pump. I don't feel bad about that whatsoever, especially after they scored a crit on me earlier. This is, of course, this Swampert is going to have Shellac Berry as much as these Hydro Pump Swamperts have. So I just go for another one. Unaware that they have a Salamence, they send this guy in. Maybe I should have went for Rock Slide. That I think would have got the kill, but I was afraid of missing Swampert, so it does a lot to Salamence. Then they run away and go into Registeel. What's funny is I get a crit, but as you're going to see, it doesn't matter because the next turn, I went for an Earthquake on Reginald over here, as all the cool kids are calling him. The dude lives on 1 HP. And then they just throw me up over the moon. I come crashing down. I don't know how that makes any sense considering Salamence can literally fly. So I send in Metagross, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to get my revenge yet again on you. And I decided to punch that guy in the face. The reason I did that is in the off chance I get an attack boost, which I actually did get one. Because why not? That probably wasn't my best idea, but I said, whatever, YOLO. Then they sent in Raikou. I'm like, oh, well, I'm going to die to that thing. So I'm going to run away here. Going to Snorlax to eat up this Thunderbolt, which was pretty delicious if you ask me. And I'm like, okay, they're probably going to switch. If they switch, I don't really care because I can get a Para. And if it's Salamence or Swampert, I'm going to kill them, as you're going to see. The Salamence actually did live, but who cares because the sand took it out. So you're still dead in my book. So that Body Slam eliminated that dude. So it's like, okay, who's next? Who's next? Who's coming? They choose Swampert. The dude actually misses another Hydro Pump. I cannot make this up. And now they obviously don't have the Shellac Berry, so I can just outspeed Bro over here and just click Brick Brick. Remember, I've got a black belt. But by the way, if you haven't noticed on the right side, they're like almost out of time. They were sitting here thinking, they're like, how am I going to win this battle? So Raikou eats up that black belt's Brick Break. I'm just going to die with Thunderbolt. I think if I was adamant and had a choice, man, that would have one-shot that Raikou with the sand for sure. But oh well, that's just what I chose to run. But it's okay. I can bring in my Snorlax now. It's not going to die to Raikou, obviously. And I squash him with my 1,000-pound body. Now, this is where things get interesting. My opponent literally had 10 seconds left. I'm like, okay, Tyranitar. It's obviously a Dragon Dance set. And if it's not, well, then I'm just going to win. So I just assume it's Dragon Dance, which it is. So I just blow up because it does the most damage, right? And my final two Pokemon, other than Metagross, is this Suicune you're going to see in Magneton. So in other words, this Tyranitar can one-shot Metagross and Magneton because it's outspeeding them and it'll just go for Earthquake. So they go for Rock Slide on Suicune. And I flinch. I'm like, okay, well, I won't flinch a second time because that would literally cost me the whole entire battle. I just have to click Surf once. They go for Rock Slide. And I flinched. So that's the end of Battle 2. There's literally nothing I can do. They just spam Earthquake here. They don't know my final Pokemon's Magneton. So I wanted to keep it a surprise. So I was like, oh, you want to see my Metagross? Yeah, you can unalive Metagross. And then, nice crit, by the way. Don't think I didn't notice that one. And I just go into Magneton, and this Earthquake's enough to do You know, you can do away with like 5 magnetons, which is like 15 magnemites if you think about it. Never really thought about that. Yep, so even my opponent literally said in the chat right here, damn, GG, because, you know, those 2 rock slide flinches, they sure were something. And I know they missed 2 hydro pumps. I don't care. That is an inaccurate move. And they crit me earlier on my Metagross. So those flinches, it's unfortunate, but I mean, they had to do that. They couldn't click Earthquake on Suicune, and I would have won the whole game. Obviously, I was going to outspeed that Swampert and just literally click Surf twice. So they were just playing to their outs. They had to do what they had to do. So heartbreaking, but that is just Pokemon. So that's game 2. Okay, everybody. So this is game 3. I'm going to be using a team that's pretty similar to what I used in game 2. The main differences is I don't have Metacham. Instead, I have Heracross. My Salamence, I know it was going crazy in game 2, but I brought a different one for this one. This one's a mixed Ments. And then, I mean, you wouldn't know, but my Magneton in game 2 had Hidden Power Fire. It got destroyed immediately, but this one's got Hidden Power Grass, and you'll see it. It actually comes in handy. So first things first, they're obviously going to start with the Metal Bird of Destruction. I start off with my Salamence this time. But I'm like, okay, I could go for Fire Blast, or I could just, you know, not miss and bring in my Magneton and get this guaranteed KO. I was afraid of this thing maybe being a bit more specially defensive, but considering that was a one-shot, I don't think it was, so I just have to deal with this pesky layer of spikes for all eternity. Aerodactyl. When you see Aerodactyl on Magneton, you know Earthquake's coming. I was afraid this is too obvious because they already saw Salamence, but they did go for Earthquake. So I'm like, okay, I'm just going to go for a Dragon Claw, even if you're intimidated and you want to hit me with Rock Slide. The fact that they switch tells me that they're banded. Then they have a Swampert. I'm like, okay, I got Hidden Power Grass for this guy. And they're like, okay, let's go see what this dude knows. They bring in a Zapdos. I'm like, okay, well, they might have Hidden Power Ice or Thunderbolt, whatever. It doesn't matter. I send in my Snorlax. Dude doesn't really take any damage. Thank God I didn't get paralyzed, but watch this. They bring in their favorite Pokemon ever, Tyranitar, as we learned from Game 2. I go for Body Slam. I don't paralyze them. Keep that in mind. I'm like, okay, is this thing going to go for Dragon Dance and unalive everybody again? Nope. It goes for Fire Blast, connects, and it burns me. So this Earthquake did no damage. I'm like, okay, well, I've got 1 foot in the grave already, and there's no point holding on to Snorlax. There's a Sandstorm, Spikes, all that. So they go for Crunch to try and unalive me. I live because I'm Snorlax, and I just blow it up to no avail. I don't know, maybe I could have got a crit there. Maybe they could have switched. So I click Self-Destruct there. I bring in my Magneton. I know for sure I can outspeed Tyranitar. It doesn't have a speed boost or anything. So I go for a Thunderbolt, and this is where it comes in handy. I was talking about this a moment ago. They have a Swampert. This was risky on their play, but they didn't really have too many better options, to be fair. So I just hit them with the Hidden Power Grass. I hit them with the metaphorical Cold Water, ripped the Band-Aid right off. Yep, I've got HP Grass, and you're in trouble. I didn't know if this was too obvious again, but I said, I'll try to hold on to Magneton. It looks good for Zapdos, Tyranitar. I bring in Salamence, and they lock themselves in an Earthquake. I'm so sure this thing has a choice band at this point, because it just, as you can imagine, just switches again, and I go for Dragon Claw. And, oh, what do you know? It's their second favorite Pokemon of all time, Registeel. You know, they brought this thing in Game 2. It was pretty good there, too. And I just got Fire Blast and Brick Break, so I don't want to bother with this. So I try to trap it in with Magnet Pull with Magneton, but they just switch on the spot and go back to Aerodactyl again. This thing is driving me crazy. Aerodactyl was their best Pokemon this game. So I bring in Salamence a third time on this guy, and they go for Earthquake. Thank God. I didn't really care too much if they went for Rock Slide because I had answers. But anyway, they bring in Tyranitar, and I thought they would go into Registeel, so I went for a Fire Blast right there. They didn't, so I'm like, okay, well, I'm just going to click Dragon Claw now because I don't really feel like missing, and if you switch, I don't want to use Brick Break. My Salamence says Brick Break. They actually brought in Aerodactyl again. I don't know if they meant to do that, because I mean they were going to live no matter what I did, and they just wanted to be in a position to go for Rock Slide here, I guess. So I bring in Magneton, and to my surprise, they didn't even click Rock Slide. They actually went for Earthquake again. They finally got the crit, much needed crit on Magneton. I was surprised they didn't go for Rock Slide there. Like, they knew I'd go into Magneton, but I would have chose Rock Slide in case I stayed in, because I should have 2-hit Magneton, I'm pretty sure, if they're banded. Anyway, I bring in Suicune because of this Registeel out there. I could have done the usual Salamence thing, obviously, but I was like, okay, well, they're going to bring in Registeel, so I need an answer for this thing. So I was surprised they let their Tyranitar go because they could have just easily brought in Registeel, which is what they do now. They should have just done that the last turn because, as you're going to see, this thing is... Well, first things first, I went for another Calm Mind because I know what I'm up against. I'm up against a monster. So they go for Thunder Wave. So you probably already know what's happening next. Then I go for a Surf, and I actually... wait, no, they go first because I'm paralyzed. They go for Seismic Toss. I go for Surf. And I get a crit. Wonderful news, right? You would think that's amazing, except that who cares? Because you're not going to believe what Registeel clicks the next move. So I'm dead to the explosion. So, but it's all right, actually, because I got rid of Registeel, which was kind of the biggest threat to me. So, guys, believe it or not, my Heracross is faster than that Zapdos. And I go for a Rock Slide. Boom. Critical hit. At this point in time, I knew I won. It was over. Because they sent an Aerodactyl. I'm like, okay, you must be banded from all the information I've gathered. If you go for sub and you have a Leechy Bear, that's going to be so mind-blowing. But I bring in Salamence here. I was like, okay, they're probably going to go for Rock Slide over HP Flying. Because, you know, Aerodactyl's fast and they can try and flinch me to death like they did in Game 2. But, you know, it's funny. They go for another Rock Slide here and they just straight up miss. I kill the Dragon Claw. There was absolutely no... Well, okay, there was a chance they would win. But my final Pokemon was actually Metagross. So I would have just died here, and then I would just sent in Metagross. You're intimidated, and I resist that on top of that. So all I had to do was just sit there, explosion, 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 until you either miss or just didn't flinch me. And then, can't guarantee I won it, because we saw what happened at the end of Game 2. But I'm pretty sure there was no way they were going to win that. It was almost impossible for them after I scored that crit on Zapdos. So that was extremely lucky. That was, I guess, payback from Arceus or something, revenge. But those were some really good battles. They even said GG well played. That's what GGWP means, if you guys didn't know. Don't worry, guys. I'm hip around here. So that was the craziest set of this tournament by far. Particularly Game 1 was insane. The hardest battle, craziest battle, most ridiculous battle I think I've just... ever. It's the craziest battle I've ever had in Gen 3, bare minimum. Definitely like one of the craziest battles I've just ever had in my life, I guess. Probably top 10 because I've done a million kajillion Pokemon battles. So GG's to mangoose49. This now puts me at because this is round 4. If you guys can even believe this, I'm just as shocked as you are. I'm actually 4-0. I'm undefeated. I'm one of the few people that are undefeated in this tournament. So I'm sure that's going to come crashing down on me soon enough. I believe to qualify for the final bracket, you need 7 wins. So I'm now more than halfway there. I don't know how we did this. Well, I know how we did this. We got lucky, of course. So, but if you get 3 losses, you're out. So I got to get 3 wins before I get 3 losses. But it's going to be much harder now because the players that are still remaining are going to be the best players, obviously, or else... because that's just how math works. They were the best ones, or else they would have been eliminated. So the next 3 wins are going to be insanely hard to do. I don't know if it's going to happen. I'll do my best. We'll see if we can make the final bracket. I think it's a 32-man bracket or whatever. So wish me luck. Until then, guys, I will see you in round 5, or I guess just whatever random battle I upload to YouTube by.